What does travel mean to you? Adventure, independence, luxury? English is one thing that can help you travel in the way you want to travel. It's especially important for being more independent. It's spoken almost everywhere in the world today. Today, we'll look at some useful chunks you can use for certain contexts. Okay, so the basic chunk we'll look at today is do you have? Okay, and this chunk, there's some variations, so it can make you sound a bit politer or a bit more sophisticated, a bit more native-like. So do you have is the basic one. Do you happen to have? Maybe sounds a little bit more native. You wouldn't have, would you? So that's a little bit politer, I guess. And you wouldn't happen to have, would you? And the first place we'll look at is a tourist information place. So you want to find out more information about the place you're going to and what kind of chunks can you use there? You could say a map of the city, a map of the metro, a guide to the museums in the city, a guide to the shops in the city, perhaps a guide to the restaurants in the city. And this do you have, do you have is probably fine to use at the tourist information centre. So do you have a map of the city? Do you have a map of the metro? You could try this. Do you happen to have? So do you happen to have a guide to the museums in the city? Do you happen to have a guide to shops in the city? And if you want to sound very sophisticated, you could use this, you wouldn't happen to have. So let's do that with a guide to the restaurants in the city. So you wouldn't happen to have a guide to the restaurants in the city, would you? But you can also use these in a social context as well. So when you travel, hopefully you're meeting other people from different places and also from the place that you travel to. And you might want practical things. So these are some things you might ask a stranger. Oh, someone you only just met. So a charger, you could say, do you have a charger? Or you could use a slightly longer chunk. Do you have a charger I can borrow? Kind of means that you only use it maybe for about 10, 20 minutes. A pen, and also you could put this phrase after it, I can borrow. A pen I can borrow. A bottle opener I can borrow. A phone I can borrow. Perhaps you forgot your phone and you want to phone someone. Or a spare bag I can use. You could also say a spare bag I can borrow if you intend to give it back. So let's put it with do you have or do you happen to have? So let's use for the first two, do you have? Do you have a charger I can borrow? Do you have a pen I can borrow? Now let's use do you happen to have? So do you happen to have a bottle opener? Do you happen to have a bottle opener I can borrow? We haven't used it yet, so you wouldn't have a phone I can borrow, would you? And we can also use you wouldn't happen to have, would you? So you wouldn't happen to have a spare bag I can use, would you? Okay, so we basically looked at a simple phrase and you can say it in slightly different ways. But if you learn those chunks, then it should come off your tongue very easily. And they go with the second part. So a charger I can borrow, a guide to the restaurants in the city, a map of the city, etc. Okay, I hope you find that useful. If you did, subscribe, hit the like, it helps with the algorithms, and I will post a new video soon.